Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CayVin Universe. We are your host. I'm Vinny.
And I'm Kaylin.
If you're returning to the show and you're wondering where we've been the past few months over the holidays, really, this episode definitely will explain it. And if you're just joining us for the first time, no, this is not normally how we are. This is not normally how our show goes. This is not normally how we open the episode, even. But today's episode is going to be a lot different. Obviously, we've been, gone for a few months, like I said. And, that's because, as some of you may or may not know, I lost my mother in October. And it's just been really tough, you know?
Yeah.
You've been there for me this whole time, and it just, man, you always, there's times in your life where you, like, try to imagine what life would be like without somebody that close to you. And it doesn't do it justice, because once you lose somebody, it's just, man, it's just it's terrible.
Yeah.
To say the least. Of course, I will elaborate more on this episode goes. So yeah, of course, this episode is gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be different, right? And it's not. I want this to be a tribute episode to my mother, not necessarily. I know I'm going to be sad. I know I'm on the verge of breaking down. I know I'm going to probably cry by the end of this podcast, but I don't want it to be a pity party for me. That's the point. That's the whole point of waiting this long. Because honestly, I was done with the podcast after my mother passed. It's been 66 days. I thought I was ready to record another episode, and you saw how long it took for me to sit down and finally do this. Because
we planned to do this a lot, a few weeks back, but it just it's the last day of the year, and it was supposed to be. We wanted this done by the end of the year, and it literally took us this long.
Yeah, and like I said, I was done with the podcast, but what's so significant about this podcast is the last conversation I had with my mom. She told me how proud she was of us. She told she had our podcast notifications on. She was subscribed. Anytime we released a clip or an episode, it popped up on her phone. I've joked before on this podcast that she was our biggest fan,
our number one fan. We have said that.
Yeah, and then her birthday was in September, and it's like, for her birthday, I wanted to get her on the podcast, but we were still really new, and we didn't even end up recording on her birthday. So I told myself, it's like, sometimes you think, like, if the world or God or whatever you may believe in, tries to tell you something sometimes, because it's like something was really telling me, get her on the podcast, even just a phone call, just get her on the podcast. But I told myself, I said, at least by next year, she'll be here, and I'll have her live on the podcast. By my next birthday, I'll have her on the podcast here with us, or us out there as we plan. And I'll go, like I said, I'll go back into the conversation that I had with her here in a little bit. But it's just things like that really, like, opened my eyes about life, because it's like, my mom was 56 years old. She was not ready to go. She had much more to look forward to. She had much more memories to live on to. And it's like, I had this conversation with my mom one time, and we were outside my brother's house. He had a little fire pit going outside, and we're just relaxing, talking. People were going in and out, my brothers, my dad, going in and out, but it ended up just being a time where it was just me and my mom sitting outside. And we started talking about my uncle who recently passed before her, and we just got on the topic of death and things like that. And she said that she wasn't afraid of death, but as she looked up at the stars, she said, yeah, I probably got 10-15 years left. And in that moment, number one, I thought, okay, no, there's no way. You're in good health. You're young, 20-25 years tops. And number two, I thought, oh shit, I got to do something, because my whole point of wanting to be successful was for her, so I can, spend it with her, so I can take care of her, so I can live with, her on her land, and I wanted that. And so I thought, okay, I got to do something quick, at least within the next 5 years or so. Within the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, everything's going to be okay because I'll make it happen. That's a good timeline. And like I said, I thought I had 20 to 25 years left with her. That was 2 years ago. So you don't know what life has in store for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I had the privilege of meeting her for the first time. Well, we've been together 4 years. So the first time I met her was about a year into our relationship. So that was 2018. And I know Vinny just mentioned, that they lived out in the country. And those 2 or 3 days that we spent over there literally were like the best
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Like being out in the country, no worries. That your phone don't work out there, and that's not a problem. It doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
But my absolute favorite part was getting to meet your mom. And I had already met your dad before that trip, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my first time. This trip was about me meeting her.
Yeah.
And like she was what made it the best days.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I
because
can't
she
even
loved like showing you around, because like you had never been out to like the country before,
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah.
like she just loved showing like basically like you were new, so she loved showing like new people around, and and the fact that you had the connection,
Yeah.
right from the start she liked you, and that what's really stood out too when we first started dating. She just and I'm sorry, just it's your experience.
And I can't even exaggerate how kind and happy she always was, and caring most of all, because specifically I remember from that first trip, I had been having like issues with my nose, like because my thing is I blow my nose too hard, so I tend to pop vessels and I get really bad nosebleeds, and so I was having a problem with that at the time. And I remember we're sitting there eating dinner, and I had to excuse myself because my nose, I felt it, coming on. And, I came back, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, she just has real bad allergies and her nose bleeds or whatever, right? She's like, "Have you checked your blood pressure?" And that entire trip, because that first reading came out a little too high.
Oh, yeah.
She was constantly like, how you have to check your blood pressure. You got to take care of yourself. So, just so... Is it selfless? Like just cared about everybody else,
She always, and thank you, because I know we started off a little sad, but that's what we really need to talk about, is how selfless she was, how she just like she was always friendly with everyone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. She just liked being around people. She liked talking to people. She liked meeting new people. Like I said, she liked showing new things to people that maybe don't know certain things, like the country life and things like that. And then when it comes to her family, oh God, like I've told you in the past few months, I've told you numerous stories of just how she was always there for us. She always stuck up for us, and she would always do things just to like help us out, and just like in this moment with these emotions, of course, I'm not going to be able to pinpoint exact stories. They're going to I'm sure they're going to start coming up on this podcast, like how they come up with you. We now literally every single thing reminds me of my mother, and it's good, it's good. And I was really close with her. She was she knew me better than anybody, and I she was the closest person I was, like out of anyone on this earth.
Of course,
I was closest with her, and it just sucks when they're gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do another cutaway because I'm about to start crying again. As much as I wanted this to be raw and unedited, we're gonna have to do cutaways for my crying. There we go, pulling myself together. But I mean, she just like, and then like back to my conversation with her. How much she just believed in, not only me, but us, she believed in our family, our children. And the last conversation I had with her was about this podcast. I had a few like little like conversations here and there, but the last like time we talked for like an hour was about a week, 6 days, about a week before she passed, and unexpectedly, of course, in an accident. And we had a long conversation, and then we had a conversation about this podcast towards the end. And she was telling me how maybe there was a sign right there. Her cat, my mom's cat, just jumped on the little chair right here where we have her cameras. Yeah, she had cats out in the country, and we snagged one of the small black cats, named him Anubis. One of the many things to keep the memory of her alive.
This is Anubis. Yeah. He's been sleeping all day, so now he has all this energy.
Oh yeah,
as soon
I know.
It's podcast time. He's like, I'm up.
He starts waking up.
But this is our first podcast with him.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And she believed in this podcast so much, and I told her, I was like, it's gonna take a while. I was like, we only have about 30 people that listen to our podcast. I was like, but we'll get there. We just started out. We'll climb, and I told her all these dreams I had, like, we can do the podcast once this podcast gets to the point where we want it to get. We can do the podcast out in the land, where I could be with you every day, where I can see you every day, where you can literally, walk over and be on our show anytime you want, and I could take care of you. She was very independent, a hard worker to the day she died, and she didn't need anyone taking care of her. She took care of everyone. Yeah. But I just, out of all she's done for me and everyone, I just wanted to be a time in my life where she didn't have to worry, and I can just take care of her and tell her, you don't have to work, you don't have to do anything, just kick back and retire and enjoy your retirement. Yeah. That's what I wanted for her, and that's essentially what this podcast was going to bring. So I thought, until Earth, and the universe and God threw me a curveball.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, take birth control. Yeah, so I told her all the dreams I had, and I even we had this, me and my mom, we've had many inside jokes throughout the years, many things that we know about each other, things that we had, like I said, inside jokes we had with each other that no one else has ever known, or I've never shared with anyone. There was one I shared with you earlier, that no one ever knew about.
Yeah,
but I told her, and one of the things was pie in the sky, because when I was little, of course, I'm the youngest. I was the mama's boy. I always told her, growing up, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And like, so eventually became a joke. She's like, oh, you're a pie in the sky. I guess it's an old saying, but it means like basically the chances of you really doing that is like a pie falling out of the sky. So I told her, I was like, yeah. She was like agreeing. And then I told her, I was like, yeah, but it's probably just a pie in the sky. It's probably just, even if it does happen, and it's going to take a long time. And she's like, no. She's like, what the difference is? She's like, you're actually doing it. Yeah. She's like, so it is going to happen. Everything you want this podcast to grow to, it's going to happen.
You just keep on.
And like I said, she was our biggest fan, and I wanted to stop this podcast, but
she wouldn't.
I couldn't. And I don't want to do a sad episode like this. When it's not gonna be like this. Moving forward, next episode I do want to do another little, at least tribute to her. Yeah. And more happier, quote unquote happy memories. With a special guest. Yeah. So, but this episode, I know we couldn't keep going without doing a tribute to her, and of course that's going to require this. That's going to require me being sad. So as time moves on, I'm gonna get better again at this, and I'm sure I'm gonna bring her up all the time.
As we did before.
Yeah, as we did before. Yeah, and I'm only gonna bring her up more, and you're gonna love it. Yeah, everyone's gonna know the legacy of
He's in there again. No. He's wild.
Oh, Anubis. Yeah, he was an outdoor country cat.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to make him a house cat. We're trying to make
him an indoor. Then we get upset because he does things like right now he's messing with the camera cords. Yeah. And we're just like, why does he do these? Like he's been trying to go outside. Actually,
yeah, he's trying to go back outside.
Because he's from outside, so we can't blame him, but he's not allowed outside.
Yeah. Man.
One thing of course, I've been going, at the same time trying to be there for Vinny, I've been dealing with it too, because I loved her, she was my mom, so it was hard, but I'm glad that when I was able to see her and spend time with her, that I always made sure that she knew that you were going to be taken care of, and that I was going to love you, and that I was going to, just always be there for you. And I'm glad that I told her that multiple times. And, like you said, she was a super hard worker. She was always working, so busy. And I'm, you know, just going to assume that she was tired from just working, So,
Yeah.
but it's just because this is what she loved to do. So,
Yeah, and then she loved working because there was a time for a while where she didn't have to work,
Yeah.
and she just took care of the land, took care of the animals on the land,
yeah.
and she didn't have to work for a long time. But then it got to the point where she wanted to go back to work because
Yeah.
she liked being up and about. She liked doing things. She liked talking to people, especially new people. Yeah, you're right. She loved it. But I just, for my, I guess, is that selfish on my part? For my sake, I wanted to just give her a better life because, even, at the, my last text messages to her, one of the last ones was, "Mom, I wish you didn't have to work so much or so hard," you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's selfish for me for wanting to be successful for her because that's all it was.
Exactly.
You know how I am. I don't care living a modest living. I don't care about extravagant things. I don't care about having fancy cars or, jewelry or anything like that. That's just not how I live my life.
Yeah.
As long as I'm, have my entertainment, I'm pretty much good.
Your games.
Exactly. That's all I need. That's just how I've been. And, maybe that's part of the way she raised me because she was always modest and frugal as well.
Yeah.
But what was my point? Yeah, like I said, I wanted to be successful for her. And then that's why for the longest time, like even this podcast I didn't want to do because success means nothing now if it's not for her. Like, I don't want to be successful now, but what do I care? If as long as I can just go have a normal job and just, pay my bills and I'm good. Why do I want anything more if it's not to provide for my mother now that she's not here? But I can't think that way, I gotta move on, gotta step up. Like I said, I didn't want this episode to be a pity party for me. I want this episode, to number one be a episode dedicated to my mother, but I also want this episode to help people that know what I'm going through. Like I was about to say exactly, but that's the thing I learned too is no one's gonna know exactly what you're going through.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Even if you've lost someone before, like I said, it's different. I want to take a moment to talk about your grandmother. She's sick right now in the hospital, and we were just talking about that my type of loss was instant, was sudden, was a phone call, and that's it. She's gone. It's like God just ripped the Band-Aid off, and that's it. But there's people that go through, things where they see a loved one getting sick, they see a loved one going down that path, and then so it's like almost like they have to go through that suffering beforehand and then suffering afterwards. And I'm not saying one is more than other because like I said, loss is loss, and it's terrible no matter which way you spin it. But it's just like there's so many different types of loss, so many different people lose people close to them at so many different ages, so many different times. And that's the thing I was telling you is like, like I said at the beginning of this episode is, you try to imagine what life would be like to like, almost kind of prepare yourself sometimes. Like when I had that conversation with my mom, I talked to myself, about her having this much time left, you think about those things and you try to prepare yourself, like how, like what's going to happen when this day comes. Cause I know this day is going to come, right? It's unfortunate, but you want to attend your mother's funeral, or you don't want your mom to attend your funeral, right? So I already knew there was going to be a life without my mother. So in my eyes, I already had it all figured out. I had my life with her growing up until I was 19 years old. I moved out. I was going to, I'm right now currently in my own path. I found an amazing girl that I want to spend the rest of my life with because she knew exactly how special you were, just how I knew, and she approved of you 100%. So it's like this was that phase to venture out and to find that love and to be successful. And then the next phase, like we planned, was gonna go back over there. I was with her. I was gonna go out, do my thing, and then come back.
Yeah.
That was my plan. That was my life. And now it's like, what's my life now?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You never realize if you have someone close to you right now. I don't want you to imagine. I don't want anyone to have to go through this, but like I said, it's eventually going to happen. But it's like the number one thing that's shocking about it is when it happens. Like my mom was 56 years old. I thought I would lose her when I was 56. So I thought by that time I will have I'll be in the spot where I can crawl away in a hole and not have to worry about anything and just grieve for months and take as much time as I need. But the world has different plans. I just so happened to lose her while we were also going through a spiraling downwards shift our own shit.
Yeah.
It's like you know, you think one thing and then it just like the universe and God sometimes says, oh, guess what? You think you're suffering now. You're really about to figure it out. And it's like, that's the biggest shock about loss is you don't know when, you don't know what day, what month, or what spot you're going to be at in life, what spot you're going to be at financially, what spot you're going to be at mentally. That's the hardest part is the time. And that's unfortunate for everyone is we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, like I told you before, it's like I had my plans and I planned out my life that it was going to be like this. And it's like God just took an eraser and just went, figure it out now. And it's like I just feel fucking lost. But I got to keep going, and that's what this podcast is gonna symbolize. That I'm getting back up, and I'm taking the first step.
Yeah. Because this was a big step.
Yeah.
And I know you brought up, your last text messages, so I just want to take a minute to bring up my last text message with her, and it was that I loved her. That's all it says is I love you. And she didn't get a chance to respond because she was busy. But I feel at peace knowing that that was the last thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, she was a great person. She, God, I want to share so many good, happy memories, but it's hard right now because I'm emotional. I didn't know this podcast. I knew I was going to be sad, but I didn't know I was going to be this emotional. My head hurts. So over time, we will share more happy memories with her. I just want the world to know right now that she was a beautiful person, beautiful soul, beautiful mind, smart mind. She very much thought outside the box, just like myself. It's where I got that from. Very intellectual. Very religious. It's crazy. I contribute my relationship with God now. My starting relationship with God, was because of her, and now my relationship because of God now is because of her. And it's almost like, like I said, God kind of smacked me back reality. Did now am I back religious because I kind of since fear God now? I don't know. Like I've never, I've always believed in a higher power. I've never given up on a God, essentially. I just never been down with religion because, religion is essentially made by man. And, sometimes you think to yourself, if you start seeing a little things wrong, you're just going to be like, I'm out. That's essentially, how I do it. And a lot of people do it. And of course, there's people that just don't believe in that stuff because they think it's cool not to be, not to believe in anything. I knew a lot of people like that in my life, but then you realize, it's not the fact that, whether religion is right or wrong. It's the fact that religion is a tool, essentially. It's like a tool you can use to get closer to God.
Yeah.
And, like I said, after, 1, 2, 3 signs, signs essentially. Oh, you could say, oh, that's coincidence. That's because of this, because of this. After 20 signs, after dreams, and, not just dreams that like, oh, you're thinking about her all the time. So of course you're going to dream her. No, like dreams as in details, as in things that, it just things that blow my mind. How
cannot be explained.
Exactly. Things that cannot be explained, in dreams and in reality. And, I've had I'm not going to go into it now. I'll go into it in a future podcast, but even a spiritual experience that I had, there's things in this world. I used to be that's one of my things that always questioned me about religion. And I still am that way. I'm not going to change. I'm not telling you that, I'm going to read a Bible to you, but I've always been a big believer in science. And I'm going to just tell everyone right now, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to go in depth in this on my mother's episode, but there's things in this world that science can't explain. And that's where religion comes in. That's where faith comes in. That's where God comes in. You know, I just think this world is just so divided on so many things, politics, and just, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to be in depth to, believe in, you don't have to belong to a certain group to believe in something.
Yeah.
You can have your own relationship with that higher power, wherever it may be, and that's not me to tell you who it is and you to tell me who it is or what it is,
Yeah.
you know? And that's one of the things that this has kind of opened my eyes with too. Um, you know, it just, it's crazy. There's just crazy.
Yeah.
I have a
think,
piece of her right here.
yeah.
If you've noticed it throughout this episode, she has her big, beautiful urn with my dad. And then me and my brothers have a piece of her, this nice plaque. So she's always with me. I have her shrine upstairs. I write to her every day.
Beautiful.
Thank you. It's just like just passing on, her teachings, I guess,
Yeah.
or doing her teachings.
Yes.
I don't know the right word. I'm not. This episode isn't going to be perfect by any means because I'm a wreck right now. And it just shows how much the fact that it hurts this bad. It just shows how much of a good person she was. Sometimes I tell her when I'm crying and crying. Sometimes I say, it's your fault, Mom. You're so good to us. Because I can hear her now saying, "Oh, stop it, don't cry, don't do that." She wouldn't want us to do any of that. She wants us to be strong, be happy, and carry on. And that's essentially what I'm doing now. It took me 66 days, but I'm trying now.
Yeah.
I'm not by no means never gonna forget her, never gonna not be sad. When I wake up, she's the first thing I think about when I wake up. That like shit, this is reality. Like she's gone. It wasn't a dream. It's tough, but like I said, we're gonna keep our memory going. We're always gonna talk about her.
I think just the last thing I want to say is, we're not perfect, but and then we're going to forget and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to regret things, but just try not to take anything for granted. Just try at least.
This is, one of the biggest things is open my eyes with it, just how short life is. How people say life is short, and I used to always think when people talked about that when people said that meant like, by the time you get old, like by the time you're 70, 80, that's a short amount of time. Like that's a long way from now. What are you talking about? Life isn't short.
Yeah.
But now I understand when people say that, they mean no, like anything can happen. Exactly. And you never know. You could have plans
from 1 minute to the next.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. If the universe, if God says it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
And, it just, we've experienced a lot of loss this year. And it's been terrible. And I know there's a lot of people going through what I've been going through. And that's another thing, too. It's like I used to look at when you read stories, or you would tell me stories that this person died because of this. And, of course, you're always going to feel bad. You're always going to be like, man, like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But then I used to be the one, like, was it because I thought it was cool, whatever? But I used to be the one that was like, everybody dies. Everyone's going to die. That's just life. Everyone's going to die. Oh, well, but then now, like I said, open my eyes. I look at it a lot deeper now when I read those stories, or when I hear those stories, because now I realize, oh shit, that could be somebody's brother, somebody's dad, somebody's sister, somebody's son, daughter, like. And then it's like yeah, I've always been sad for the person, but it's like it's almost now I'm definitely sad for the family, because I know I've experienced loss before, but now not on this huge a scale. Now I know exactly what it is. And there's some people out there that probably think the same thing that I thought before, and they may be watching this episode and still be thinking the same thing, like, oh, everyone dies, just how it goes, suck it up, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I hope you get to say goodbye, because I didn't get to, and it hurts. So everyone's gonna experience it in time. No, this is not me saying, like I said, everyone's gonna experience it and everyone's gonna hurt. So you don't want to wish hurt on anyone when they're ready to hurt. But
yeah,
I want anyone listening to this or watching this, if you've experienced this, to know that we're here for you. We essentially, like absolutely, we're here for you.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. If you're hurt and you have felt loss and you feel like there's nowhere to turn to and you need somebody, email us. We will respond with something like that.
Yeah.
If you need help, You know, of course, there's professionals out there you can call. You know, definitely recommend that. But if it's something maybe you're just afraid, because I know how it is. I've been there. I've been there. That it's like you almost don't want to. You don't want to tell your family. You don't want to tell because you feel like on one hand they wouldn't understand, and on the other hand they might throw you in a mental hospital. You know, you don't want to tell. You don't want to call for help because same thing. You know, I don't want to be thrown somewhere where they're just gonna throw a bunch of drugs down my throat. You know, if you're afraid of that and you feel like there's nowhere else to turn, you just need someone to vent to, someone to talk to. We're here. We're here. Yeah. CayVin Universe, the CayVin Universe at gmail.com. No, that wasn't a ploy just to get our email out there. We're really going to be here for you. You know, that's what my mom would want because she was always kind to strangers and kind to everyone. Anyone need help. You know, she was always here to help everybody, never asked anybody for anything. And that's the hardest part because she could have. Yeah. You know, and, you know, she lived a beautiful life. You know, a middle life, 56. She didn't live a long life. That's for sure. It's terrible. She definitely had a lot more to look forward to, a lot more memories. And I will be face to face with the people responsible one day, whether it be a month, whether it be a year, whether it be 5 years, whether it be 10 years. I will be face to face with the people responsible. And they just took everything from me. But we're not going to talk about that now. We're going to carry on her legacy. And, you know, I love you so much, Mom.
We both love you. This is for you.
Yeah.
Pictures of you, all this still on my mind. Have the smile that could light up the world. Now when it rains, it seems the sun never shines. And I drive down this lonely, lonely road. Ooh, I got this feeling, girl, I gotta let you go. 'Cause now you got to fly to the angels. Heaven awaits your heart and flowers bloom in your name. Whoa, you got to fly to the angels. All the stars in the night shine your name. Though it hurts me way deep inside, when I turn and look and find that you're not there, I try to convince myself that the pain is still not gone. Till I drive down the slow